You're muted.
Oh, I'm done. I've got the NA. I'm clean. Blah blah blah. I appreciate it. See y'all. I really appreciate it. Had a great time. Great convention. Oh my God, y'all funny.
It's a technical difficulty.
Well, thank you for sharing, Craig.
Thank y'all for listening. Have a great weekend. Great
Thanks, Victor.
convention. I'll see you next time. You know, didn't Bob pick up where I left off? Bob.
Lord.
So anyway,
You ain't not getting off that easy, Craig.
all right, I hope y'all are timing this. Let me start my little time here. This is gonna be easy. Listen, thank you, George, and everybody else who had a part in asking me to come out and be a part of this event today. And I want to applaud you guys for doing this and just rising to the occasion and putting on something for a lot of other people to be a part of. And thank you guys, the convention committee. And I've been a part of convention committees before, and I know how much time and effort it goes into it, even when we're just meeting virtual. And I know the time and effort and the sacrifice that members make, because I've been involved with some of that myself. So thank you guys for everything you've done and creating this space for us this weekend. I live in Annapolis, Maryland, actually right outside of Annapolis, Maryland. And I've lived here now for 1,281 days. And I'm originally from Raleigh, North Carolina. That's where I got clean at. And I live here because I have two daughters here that have been living here since their mom and I broke up, and she brought them to Maryland. So I've been coming here since they were in elementary school, and seeing my daughters and bringing them back to North Carolina, up and down I-95 and those kind of things. And so after, you know, some events happened in my life, and it just became apparent to me that I had the opportunity to actually move here and co-parent my daughters with their mom, and to see them through high school, and they're getting ready to go off to college this summer. And I moved here with no expectations, and they were all met. And I moved here. I didn't know it filled a void that I didn't know that I had by coming here. I live right around, less than a minute around the corner from my girls. And it's just one of those things that has been so beneficial and joyful for me. Hasn't always been easy, but it's definitely been gratifying to be here and to be part of their lives. And I'm actually moving back to Raleigh at the end of July, and my youngest daughter, she's got accepted to college in North Carolina, and the older one is waiting on her application to come back. But you know, there's a possibility that my girls will be in college in North Carolina when I move back, so I'm really excited about that. Child support is more than just financial, and there's a lot that goes into that, I believe, that goes into me giving attention and affection and affirmation to my kids. So when George asked me to share on this topic, one of the things that I try to keep in mind too, and I'm saying that for your benefit as well as mine, is that this is just my experience, and everyone's experience is not necessarily the same, and everyone's perspective is not necessarily the same. And the tapestry of our program is such that no one person's story can actually capture the full flavor and of who we are and the program. And so this is just my experience, and particularly as it relates to this topic, because diversity and unity are not mutually exclusive. We can have both, and we do have both. And you know, when I got clean in 1987, and I got clean in Raleigh. And diversity at that time for me, no one really looked like me. And that was the only part of diversity I saw, was the way people looked, their skin color, where they were, and those kind of things, or where they were from, or what kind of drug they did, and those kind of things. And the problem, when I came to NA, the problem was not with them, the problem was with me. Because the reality of it is that it didn't matter what those what they looked like, what skin color they were. I wasn't ready. And when a person is not ready, there's nothing that I can say that's right. And when a person is ready, there's nothing that I can say that's wrong. And so they were very welcoming and loving. The problem was with me, and the problems was with the fact that I had not reached that point yet where I was ready. I had been to treatment for 42 days. I weighed 115 pounds. I came out, a little over 42 days later, 35 pounds heavier. But I still had not embraced the concept of having a disease. I was still looking at what kind of drug I use. And as long as I didn't use that kind of drug, I was okay. And I struggled for a long time. My clean date is October 16th of 87. I came out of that treatment center on May 2nd, 1987. I struggled through those months, that summer of 1987. I struggled a lot. I went to meetings late and I left early. I went to meetings high. I left meetings and went and got high. I went to meetings with drug paraphernalia. I didn't get a sponsor. I didn't get a home group. I didn't do any of the things that other people were doing and staying clean. And conversely, I didn't stay clean. And that's just my experience. Everyone's experience might be a little different, and your perspective might be a little different, but that was my perspective. Once I started following directions, and once I started doing what other people were doing, I not only got clean, but I stayed clean. Because in my view, getting clean and staying clean are two different things. I got clean a couple of times. I'd get clean for a couple of days, maybe a day, maybe a few hours, but I always went back to using. This time, with the help of the program, I not only got clean, I stayed clean. And here's what was key for me. Key for me was getting a sponsor. Key for me was getting a home group. Key for me was just doing what other people were doing. And I've been doing that since 1987 to some degree or another. And that has worked for me. In one of those things that I hear often in NA through, in service and different places, is that diversity is our strength. Well, I don't necessarily believe diversity in and of itself is a strength. Diversity is a strength when we actually recognize that, appreciate that, and utilize that. And what I mean by that is that there are so many different degrees of diversity and different flavors that comes with that. And it's just not what people look like. It's not whether they're religious or not religious. It's not where they actually come from. It's also viewpoints and perspectives and the values that people bring into the meeting. See, I believe that everyone in this meeting, I certainly don't know everyone in here, but I know a few people, but I think that everyone in here has something to offer. And that's part of our diversity, and being willing to hear those different voices, and being willing to be inclusive of different viewpoints and different voices and different perspectives, and being willing to encourage that minority viewpoint, of that minority perspective, to be part of what makes us whole and what makes Narcotics Anonymous strong. I'm not even a person that, people that know me, I don't talk a lot about we. And I understand this is a we program, and I need help in staying clean, and I have help in staying clean and support. But the reason that I'm not a big fan of that is because I don't like painting people with the same brush. I don't believe that we do this, 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 we do that. I don't think that everyone has the same perspective, and um, uh, we come from different places and different backgrounds, and everyone didn't get here at the same time, and people bring different different things to the program and to the table. I don't think that everyone in Narcotics Anonymous has to talk alike. I don't think that everyone in NA needs to think alike. And I believe that our program, we have a single purpose and a simple message, and we have a common language, and we have a common set of principles called the 12 steps and traditions and concepts. And everyone doesn't actually work those common principles the same way or at the same speed. A practical application of that is that the people that I sponsor, I can't sponsor everybody the same way because they're individuals. And you know, I look for what that person has to offer and their investment in the program and in sponsorship. But they're all different individuals. Now, there may be some common themes such as go to meetings and step work and being of service and those kind of things, but it's still up to that individual to utilize what all of us have most of us, or what I do. Because I tell people, don't do as I say, do as I do. It might be helpful if you just follow the example, but they also, what I also encourage the guys that I sponsor is to think for themselves. I had a sponsor, we were going over his 6th and 7th step, and it was actually a 6th step. And we were looking up words in the dictionary on what it meant. And I was telling him what that word, no, he had a word and he wanted me to give him the definition. And I said, no, he almost tricked me in there. I said, nah. I said, you look it up. You find the definition that works for you, that works for you. He said, come on, Spons, just tell me what. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. Because I said it might mean something different for me than it means for you. And so do the work, do it for yourself. I suggest to guys that I sponsor in meetings, and this is just my experience, everything that's said in a meeting doesn't necessarily apply to me because we're all different. Anonymity doesn't mean that we're the same. Anonymity means that each of us has an equal opportunity for recovery, no matter where we come from, or no matter where we didn't come from, no matter what outside influence that a person has coming to NA, that we all have that same equal opportunity, but it doesn't mean that we're the same. And I hear that a lot, that, you know, sometimes, and I just happen to disagree with it and just happen to have a different perspective on it. I'm the kind of person, no one has to think like I do. No one has to have the same perspective that I do. I think it's important that we have a diverse perspective, because there may be times when I need to call Risa, or I need to call Brandon, or I need to call Candace or Tori or Bob Mack, or I might need to call someone else that has a different perspective than me, because my perspective sometimes is wrong. I can't tell you how many times pre-NA and post-NA, that I have misread the signs, that I have misread the signals, and have sometimes ignored, not only misread the signs, but ignored the signs. So sometimes I think it's of value that we all have different perspectives, and I don't want to sound like that we don't have common themes or ideals or values and those kind of things that strengthen us and make us whole. But I really believe the strength, though, is that we're not robots, and that that this is not a program for conformity, and this is not a program that I have to do exactly what Susan does or someone else does, but that I can take the same principles and apply them to my life in ways that work for me. And it is another part of the strength that diversity brings out, is that, think about this, when I'm involved with public relations, and when we're having conversations, when PR and people I'm with, we're making presentations to outside organizations, one of the things that we emphasize is that we are not the same. We have people that work full time. We have people that work at home. We have people that don't work at all. We have different age groups. From whatever the youngest age is to someone as old as me. I'm 65. We have people with no kids. We have people like, I've got 6 kids, 4 adult children, and 2 daughters that and my oldest son is 45. My youngest daughter is 17. I have 12 grandchildren. My oldest grandson is 25, be 26 in a couple of weeks. I have a 6-year-old great grandson. And I have a great grandson that's going to make his appearance in the world in about 3 weeks, or at least that's what the doctor says. So, and we also have people in our fellowship that don't have children at all. And they're still, and we all are brought together. And when we share that with other organizations, because we're human and there's a lot of diversity in our society. And we don't want anyone, I know I don't want anyone to not be able or willing or just hesitant about coming to Narcotics Anonymous because they think they might not fit in. And it's important that we bring that out. In H&I, one of the things that's important in going out to facilities doing H&I, whether virtual or in person, is that there is a snapshot of who we are, that on that panel are men and women, on that panel are white and black, on that panel are young and not so young, that we create this snapshot of Narcotics Anonymous, so that the audience, because in that audience, there's going to be a mix of people in that audience. And contrary to popular belief, as a human being, sometimes the first identification that a person has is with what the person looks like. That's just human nature. That's not something that's bad or wrong. It's just human nature. And so we want to give that initial identification so that people come to our program, and then once they get here, they can find out the real identification about how we feel, and how the same way that I felt when I came to NA. Because my initial identification is what those guys, what they look like in NA, and they didn't look like me, and I disqualified myself from the recovery program. And it wasn't that I saw the light, it was that I felt the heat. Once my ass was on fire after going back out, continually going back out and using again and blah, blah, blah. Once I got ready, let me just put it like that. I got ready, and I was willing enough to let these people that didn't look like me save my life. And once I got in here was when I actually started hearing and started finding identification in how they felt, because they talked about how I felt. And that was the hook for me. They talked about feeling less than and unworthy or always being different. And so for me, here's the paradox of, I'm keeping up with my time. Here is the paradox too of diversity. When I came to NA, I had to be just like everybody else until I found out who I really was. I had to do exactly what they did, and that was helpful because I still do the same things. The basics is what I call them. But I had to talk like they talked. I had to share like they shared. I had to, do those things that I felt like were part of the identification that I needed to have with these members. And part of that was because I didn't know who I really was. And I had to find out who I was. And so diversity is one of those things that when we talk about principles before personalities, it doesn't say principles and no personalities. That's not what it says. And I'm not a believer in leave your personality at the door. I don't believe that. I believe it is key and important and helpful that members bring their personality into the room. What it means is that the principles that we all have in common, are more important than my own beliefs and the way I think things should be done. But it doesn't mean that I am to be mindless and thoughtless and just a robot, or as it describes in the literature, faceless and colorless. No, it just means that I have a place here. My personality has a place just like yours, and everyone is of value. And I want that. It's important that members feel cherished and valued in Narcotics Anonymous. I came here with enough baggage of feeling less than to get into the program and still be treated less than or talked down to. One of the traditions talks about that we greet each other with the recognition of people that, I'm paraphrasing, that people that survived the same near fatal catastrophe is what it says in so many words. Well, I also think that our members should be treated as people who survived the same near fatal catastrophe in the rooms. And it doesn't mean that doesn't mean for me that a person can come here and say and do whatever they want to do. But what that means is that I treat people with love and respect, and I can listen to different viewpoints. There's more than one way to get, I don't know what part of Georgia this convention usually is. I used to go to Athens. Actually, well, I'm not even going to that story. But anyway, there's more than one way to get to Georgia. Let me just put it like that. There are different highways to get to the same destination. In recovery, there's more than one way to get to a solution. There's more than one way to get to an objective that we might have in service. There's more than one way to treat someone who goes in and out of the program. There's more than one way to treat them. There's more than one way to, when people come to NA who are new, there's more than one way to treat them and to make them feel home and to make them feel welcome. My way may not be the best way. It may be Reza. It may be Brandon. It may take one of them to reach out to that newcomer, and their way works for that person. And as a member my life has transformed so much as a result of NA, it's my responsibility. I just want the best for those people. It doesn't have to be me. It could be Brandon. It could be Tori. It could be Candace. It could be Bob. It could be any one of us, as long as that person stays here and finds a way to live and a better way to live. So I really appreciate you guys listening. Thank you very much for having me today, and congratulations. There's my alarm. I'm just on time. Congratulations to the convention committee for putting this on for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Craig.
Yes, thanks so much.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Very
Thank you for a great message.
Thanks, man.
Much, Craig. Our
Thanks,
next
Craig.
speaker for today is Carl B. from Texas. And Carl, I'll give it over to you.
Thank you. I grateful also to be here. I got something I wanted to share with you. I always like to pray before I share, try to get this fool named Carl out of the way. But before I do, I want to show you something that I got in Macon, Georgia. And this is from GRCNA 2002.
What?
And it's a special experience for me. It's the first time I was a main speaker at a event. And if you notice, I'm wearing the world t-shirt from that same year, which was in Atlanta, Georgia. So needless to say, Georgia is one of the most favorite places in Narcotics Anonymous in my life. I have some really close friends still in Georgia that I met. Actually, some of them weren't here anymore. Paula was, I remember, the program chair. I met a guy named Shawande, who's no longer with us. And then I got a guy I talked to today named Donald out of Atlanta, who, Donald, when I used to have a tricking problem, he'll say, I'll ride with you until you get them in the rear view mirror. And so I just glad to be here. I ask you to join me in a moment of silence so I can get Carl out of the way, invite God in. If you're praying, people, please pray along with me. It allows me to say something, just something that will be of benefit to each and every person here today. Thank you. I'm an addict. My name's Carl.
Hey, Carl.
Now, some of you guys may have been at GRCNA in 2002, and I was taught in this fellowship that your story don't change. So if you got a good memory, you're still gonna end up hearing the same thing you heard, but just a newer version those many years ago. And I need to tell you, because I did it then, I'm getting ready to do it now, that I tend to relate to recovery in song. I was a professional musician at age 14, and age 14, I got high. I took a hit, and I became an intellectual giant. I took another hit, I became a great dancer. And after the third hit, I became player. And so I was not a person that graduated to become an addict. I got high on Wednesday night at age 14. I bought a substantial quantity of this stuff that make me smart, handsome, and freaky on Friday morning. And I got high all day, every day for the next 26 years. So like I said, recovery, I relate to still today in song. I was a professional musician at age 14. And so some of you guys look like you might not know these songs, and some of them might. So I'm just going to go ahead and do what I do. But some of you may have heard of a group called the Temptations. And the Temptations got me in touch with the fact that my life was a ball of confusion. I grew up in a psychedelic shack. I didn't have a father figure because Papa was a Rolling Stone. And I thought I was smart, but then that was just my imagination. Kool and the Gang got me in touch with the fact I couldn't get enough of that funky stuff. Bobby Brown said, Carl, it's your prerogative. The Isley brothers had told him, it's your thing. You can do what you want to do. So when I came to the program of Narcotics Anonymous, I need to tell you, diversity was the problem. The problem was, father was a dark-complected Black man. My mother was brown-skinned, and y'all can kind of see I come out looking like this. My father was so upset, he cut my mama's throat in the hospital the day I was born. My mama was so traumatized that once she got out of the hospital, she decided to leave me at the babysitter's, and I was there 3 days. My diaper was soiled, my milk was sour, and I had lost weight since the day I was born. And so I was raised by my grandmother. My grandmother, turns out, was my step-grandmother. She wasn't my real grandmother. She was my grandfather's girlfriend, and had been his girlfriend for 11 years. So all my aunts and uncles didn't like me. I need to tell you, I grew up on the dividing line between the Black and the whites. North of me were Black people, and they used to beat me up. They said I was white and had curly hair. And then the white folks used to beat me up. They said I was Black and had nappy hair. And then I met the Mexicans. They thought I was Puerto Rican or something, and they beat me up because I couldn't speak Spanish. They felt like I was a traitor to the race. I got in a lot of fights, and in the 5th grade, they took a 12-year-old to court. I had 30 minutes to get to school and 30 minutes to get home, and I couldn't leave 10 feet from my front door. And the kids would deliberately play baseball 12 feet from my house. So I said, diversity for me was the enemy. The Blacks didn't like me, the whites didn't like me, the Mexicans didn't like me, the neighborhood kids didn't like me, and my own family didn't like me. I didn't fit in. So I looked in the mirror, because one of my friends talks about we all have this original trauma when we come to the fellowship. And your nose is too big, you're way too late, your mama's got a bad reputation. There's always something about you that ain't right. And I learned how to medicate to deal with that. And so what I got in touch with, that by the time I was 20 years old, I bought all my dope in 200 lots or heavyweight. And I got high by myself still. And I'd take a pill at 8 o'clock, it'd wake me up. And I'd go in the bathroom, brush my teeth with a number on one side of my mouth, and then finish that and move it to the other side of my mouth and brush the other side of my teeth. I learned about balance, not as a using addict, but as I learned about balance as a using addict. So my teeth would grit and I'd take a pill. I'd slobber on myself and I'd take a pill. So basically, like I said, I come to this fellowship. I didn't fit in. I much like Craig, didn't like pretty much none of y'all. They said if you wanted what we had to offer, well, the only thing y'all had that I wanted was some of the females, and I really didn't need them more than 90 seconds because I was selfish and self-centered, so I didn't really care about trying to do anything for you. It was all about me. And one of the songs I got in touch with was a song that said the sun was shining, there's plenty of light, new day is dawning, sunny and bright. But after I've been crying all night, the sun is cold and the new day seems old. That's some crazy stuff. He goes on to say, since I lost my baby. See, my baby was Carl. Carl was self-righteous. Carl was always right. Carl was not liked by blacks, whites, browns, family, nobody. So Carl was a dope fiend waiting to happen. So when I got that dope on that Wednesday night, my whole world opened up and I finally found somewhere that I belong. And so when I got to Narcotics Anonymous, I worked all 12 steps the first time I was there. I collected 22 white tags over a 6-year period working Carl's Anonymous, and I still did not fit in. In fact, for me, it wasn't the steps that helped me overcome, it was the traditions. Because with the traditions, I started learning some things, like I had the right to be wrong. I started learning, in fact, one of my favorite NA songs, I can't sing, I need to tell you that, but I also need to tell you it never stopped me before. But one of the songs that stuck out to me when it comes to Narcotics Anonymous is an old song. It was done by a number of people. One of them was the Temptations also, and it said, I needed the shelter, someone's arms, and there you were. I needed someone to understand my ups and downs. And there you were, with sweet love and devotion, simply touching my emotion. I just want to stop and thank you, baby. I just want to stop and thank you, baby. Well, well, how sweet it is to be loved by you. The second verse says, I closed my eyes at night, wondering what it'd be like without you in my life. All the things are just the boring things I've done. Seems I've done them before, but you brighten up all my days, changed my life in so many ways. I just want to stop and thank you, baby. I just want to stop and thank you, baby. Well, well, how sweet it is to be loved by you. And that is the diversity for me. That is the diversity because, see, I didn't fit in. So when I got there, I still didn't fit in. It was full of white people that I didn't like, black people I didn't like, Mexicans that I didn't like. And I had been convinced thoroughly that I was not worthy of being liked. And so I had to get in touch with the diversity. And the diversity comes in many ways. I think one of the biggest things about diversity is I had to get away from Carl, the guy that the money was poor and New Day seems old. That guy had to get rid of him. And so diversity had to get rid of my, me, and I. I had to get to the we. And the we meant I had the right to be wrong. We, to me, meant, okay, so that means everybody in here belongs. And I have the right to be here. And I got a sponsor after 22 white T tags. Like I said, I used 22 tags over a 6-year period, relapsing, before I got clean in 1994. And what I got in touch with was sponsorship told and taught me how to access the diversity in the Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous. Because sponsorship let me develop a true relationship with another human being. Sponsorship was my first journey into the we, because I was able to find out that this guy kept my secrets. I was able to be supported, like Craig said, where I was able to do my program the way I wanted to. In fact, he wouldn't give me no suggestions. And that was good for me because I didn't want none. I was smart enough, I didn't need no suggestions. But sponsorship taught me how to have a relationship with another human being. It was through sponsorship I learned the value of an attorney. It was through sponsorship I learned the value of a mechanic. It was through sponsorship that learned sooner or later the literature says everybody we come in contact with has something to offer. And y'all taught me through diversity, people got the right to be wrong, but through diversity, what I learned was you're either an example or you are warning. So you're gonna show me what to do or you're gonna show me what not to do. And the problem still being me, what I learned is when I looked at your program and I saw that it was flawed, I was taught to look at the flawed person that allowed me to recognize that. His name was Carl. My sponsor said I could put my name on the list and take everybody's inventory that I wanted to. But at the end of that inventory, I had to put my name on the top of the list because if you spot it, you got it. That's where it comes from. And so the diversity in this fellowship, I too, interesting enough, Craig was PR chair in Dallas. And that me and we hadn't been gone, but there were some other people that had some different thoughts. We had a huge event, but it was criticized by some of the other addicts because they had been doing PR events a certain way for years back when it was PI, and we changed it to PR for a reason. There was public relations. And so we had public relations. We had judges. We had the district attorney in Dallas. We had many people that came and they spoke at our event. They spoke of how they work with Narcotics Anonymous. They also spoke about how Narcotics Anonymous could help them more. And then we also had addicts that showed up. I was told addicts shouldn't come because they'll give NA a bad name. And we ended up with 85 people at that event. And they did a recap on it, and they decided that it was not a good event because the professionals got to speak and there were too many addicts there. And then I had a problem with that, but I was able to leave without that problem because y'all had taught me about diversity. Y'all had taught me they got a right to feel like they feel, and I got a right to feel like I feel, and I may not be comfortable, but I don't have to be right anyway. That was my problem, is that I was always right. And so, long story short, I didn't, number one, they told me pay for the deal and submit a receipt. And when I submitted the receipt, they said, oh no, you're 3 times over budget. I used the same budget that they used on the last event, and the last event had 12 people there. And it was not in a major city. I'm in the 10th largest city in the United States, and I didn't get my money reversed. Okay, so no big deal. And then it took them 6 months to give me the money because they had a problem with the checking account. I don't know what it was, but I'm telling you that in the end, I'm going somewhere. I had a problem with Narcotics Anonymous. My home group, I want to invite everybody while I'm thinking about it, is the Duncanville NA group, home of the old school speaker jam. We have 2 meetings a day, have been open throughout the entire pandemic. So noon and 8 o'clock, Duncanville, Texas. You can go to DuncanvilleNA.com and go to our website, and you're welcome to be there. And so I had done the PR thing. I was the guy that got the speakers on Friday night. It was an eating meeting. I got the food. I helped cook most of the time. I got all the literature, and I'm still the group treasurer. And what I learned was, once again, I'm always trying to do every damn thing. I'm trying to earn the respect, because little Carl didn't have no respect from Mexicans, white folks, family, none of that. So I'm still overcompensating. And so what I had to understand was I recognized what they were doing because that's what I had always done. And I got mad. I need to tell you, I withdrew to a degree from Narcotics Anonymous. I went to a couple of online meetings a week just to keep my foot in the water. But I didn't go to any of the meetings at the group, mainly because I'm a little older than Craig, so I don't want to get the virus. So what I learned was I need to tell y'all that they taught me that sometimes you need something outside of the fellowship. And during this pandemic, I have a nonprofit and I work with governments, faith, and behavioral health entities. And mental health is one of the things I work with a lot, and substance misuse. Well, guess what? Guess who developed a mental health problem? And what I discovered was the same denial that got me in trouble when I got here was getting me in trouble again, because I got mad at the fellowship of NA. I stopped participating in diversity and started doing my own thing and listening to this fool named Carl again. And once again, I had the same problem. And so I had to go see somebody because I recognized that I had a problem. Guess what? I've been going to the group, to the home group. I tell them, put their mask on right, take it off your ear, take it off from under your chin. But I go because I had run away and left my hope. At 27 years clean, I forgot the benefit, the beauty, and the diversity that helps me in Narcotics Anonymous. And so I had to understand that once again, they told me denial means don't even know I'm lying. And if you got some serious time, it means don't even know I always lie. See, I lie to myself and tell me that I got this thing going on. I lie to myself and tell me that I'm not no longer powerless. You know, powerless taught me that I didn't know. See, I thought I know everything. My name was Yogi. I was smarter than the average bear. And then my life was unmanageable. That means I couldn't run nothing. So I was dumb and I couldn't run nothing, but denial had me convinced that because I had this 27 years, I had now arrived. And all I did was have to learn all over again the message of this fellowship. And one of the diversity issues that is very important to me in this fellowship is spiritual in nature. I think that a lot of times, I think the world, frankly, I've heard, and I know you've heard it too, that the people in planet Earth need Narcotics Anonymous. They need 12 steps. Because I learned that I didn't care if you was Buddhist, Hindu, no matter what your religion was, the spirit was still the same. Spiritual principles are never in conflict. And I had to learn how to adapt to spiritual principles. I had to learn how to stop sharing when people were sharing. See, I used to sit there and you start sharing and I'd start debating. Well, I don't agree with that. And I'm working on my share. So when you get through sharing, I can sniper share and correct all the things that you shared that's wrong. Again, that's diversity that I was missing out on until I learned how to shut up. And I learned how to listen. And I learned how to appreciate. You know, when my mental health issues started showing up, I had a friend on an event I did out in India, and he told me, stop drinking cold water, drink 6 glasses a day, touch your forefinger to your thumb, leave your 3 fingers out and meditate 3 times a day. And he comes from a religion that's totally different than mine. But guess what? Because of diversity, because of learning what I learned from sponsorship, because of learning what I learned from each of y'all, I got a chance to benefit from my relationships, no matter who you were, no matter how you did it. And I need to tell you, I was a male chauvinist pig. So women couldn't teach me nothing. And I didn't like none of you guys, like I said, because all of y'all had misused me. So whether you was black, white, brown, I didn't care. The only person that I had faith in was Carl. And what I learned was I had the ability to adopt and adapt. Our traditions tell us about adaptation. I could learn to adapt from other people's spiritual principles, which brought me to another song by Bob Dylan. And I know I'm getting close to the time, but I'm going to share this song because he said, you may be an ambassador from England or France. You may like to gamble. You may like to dance. You may be the heavyweight champion of the world. You may be a socialite with a long string of pearls, but you got to serve somebody. See, Narcotics Anonymous allowed me to understand I didn't have to have one somebody. I can learn from the newcomer that comes in the room. Some of them piss me off. Man, they come in here with 3 months clean and they sharing stuff I didn't even learn till I had 12 years. And I learned that there's some smart females around here, and I learned how stupid I really was. And so what I have to understand, that said, it may be the devil, it may be the Lord, but you're going to have to serve somebody. And I thank God, because for me, I serve the diversity of the fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous. Narcotics Anonymous allowed me to be whole. Narcotics Anonymous allowed me to recognize I was having some mental health issues. I went to the doctor and I got mad at the nurse because she started reading my medications. And I just started saying yes because of everything, because I didn't want to think. I didn't want to respond. I just reacted. Y'all told me the difference between response and reaction. There's so much that this fellowship has given to me that I can't pay it back, but I can pay it forward. And that's what y'all taught me. And I just am glad that we have this avenue, and I hope we get the opportunity to share what we learned at this fellowship with other people, because I've been given the beauty of, I don't take my big book to church, my basic text to church. I don't take my Bible to the meeting. I don't take the Quran to the meeting or the church. I've learned, though, I can extract the principles that y'all got me in touch with in Narcotics Anonymous and use it to better my life and to help tell you. Because diversity is one of the problems I think we got right now. Everybody's worried about I, me, and mine. Nobody's got any we going on. We want the things to go my way. I got the right. Man, I tell you what, I got so many people arguing around me right now. Texas, they took the mask down. It's getting ready to go away. You would not believe the people that are arguing about a mask. And for me, y'all taught me that it ain't about having my way, it's about what's best for the weak. You know, sometimes I know a lady with 7 immune deficiency problem. She needs to wear a mask. I know some other people, I heard somebody say it earlier, they got sick, but it was not very traumatic. It was light. Didn't have much of a cough, didn't have much of a fever, had all the taste buds, ate like good. So it's not about my opinion. It's about my response. It's about my reaction. It's about the beauty of GRCNA, 39.5. And I want to thank you guys for doing a marvelous, magnificent job. I've been into a lot of online stuff, and online is just now starting to grow, just now starting to turn into something different. And y'all did that today. You know, and without growth, there is no problem. Without problem, there is no growth. So we had a little glitch up front. So what? But I look at GRCNA today, and it was just as enlightening and just as wonderful as it was back in 2002. And that year, the next year, I actually got to go to Fun in the Sun. There used to be a Georgia connection to Fun in the Sun. And Shawande, who's no longer here, we went to breakfast before 6 o'clock. We went to the beach and we sit there, and Shawande had us close our eyes and experience fear and listen to all the orchestra, all the music that was going on with the waves hitting the seashore. This is the kind of stuff that I can get from diversity. This is the kind of stuff that gives me faith in the fellowship. And this is the kind of stuff, frankly, that gives me love. I can love me today because I finally learned how to love you. I don't care how you think. I don't care too much if you like me or not. All I care about is, am I moving my feet the right way? So I'm pretty sure I'm over time. I want to thank y'all for this great event. Thank y'all once again for the opportunity to join GRCNA. And I'm an addict. My name's Carl. One of these days I'll stop coming, but for right now, I'm gonna keep coming back. Thanks.
Thanks,
Excellent.
Carl.
Thank you, Carl.
Thanks,
Thank you for sharing,
Fantastic.
Carl.
Excellent.
Sir.
Excellent.
Thank you for
Thank you,
sharing.
Carl.
Love you,
Awesome. Thank you
Carl.
so much, Carl. I'm an addict named Tori.
Sorry.
We have a little
Thank
bit
you
of
for
extra
sharing, Carl.
time. If anyone would like to share, please raise your hand. If you would like to share your own experience, strength, and hope on diversity is key, and we will unmute you. Please keep it to 3 minutes or so that we have some time. Thank you. You can go ahead, Robert.
My name is Robert, and I am a recovering addict.
Hey, Robert.
Robert.
First, I would just like to thank the God of my understanding for His love, grace, and mercy, and thank the speakers, man. Both speakers, you all were dynamic. I really got something from each one of you, from each one of the speakers. So, man, thank you. I don't know, it's just good to be here today. This is really my first convention, virtual convention, so I'm feeling my way through it, but hey, so far so good. I've enjoyed everything I've experienced today. But as far as the diversity is the key, that is so important, and it says in our literature talks about our message, and it says that our message is that an addict, any addict, can stop using, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. And diversity is so key. It is so key to that, because any addict, it didn't say a black addict or a white addict or a straight addict or a gay addict. It said that any addict could lose the desire to stop using, So for me, I needed to, I need to hear different messages from different people, and it also, our literature also talks about that too. It says, we visit various groups and and hear different messages. And so, someone can share something that really affects me, something that I really, really need to hear, and I might not get it then. And then someone else, a whole nother person, can share it and share their perspective on it. And I can get it, and I get it. So I'm learning that it doesn't matter. I can't pick and choose where my help comes from. Okay, I am respectful of time. I can't pick and choose where my message come from, so I just thank God for this fellowship and the fact that I can go to any meeting anywhere in the world and feel at home. That is so important to me. So, you know, in respect of time, I'm going to, yeah, that's all I have. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
We have Candace next.
Hey, family. My name is Candace, and I'm an addict.
Hey,
And
Ken.
Hey,
like-
Candace.
Hey, Craig. Oh, wow. Thank you. Carl. Wow. Thank you both for sharing a clear and concise message, man. When we talk about diversity, see, when I got here, I thought that I was unique, right? You know, I thought that nobody had done the crazy, insane stuff that I had done, right? And then I used to hear addicts share all the time about, what if we were all the same? You know, and that gave me something to think about, because just thinking about, if we were all the same, what kind of program would we have? You know, we would all be like robotic. We would all be doing the same thing. And would I be able to learn anything from that? I'd probably get bored and go back to using, you know. So I'm grateful that we come from all different kind of backgrounds, and it doesn't matter how we got here, that we were all thrust up in here together, you know, for one purpose, and that's to stay clean. You know, this program offers freedom from active addiction. That's the only promise that it has, you know, and I'm just so grateful that diversity is our strength, because, you know, we learn from each other. It says we are each other's eyes and ears, you know. It's the therapeutic value of one addict helping another is without parallel. And I'm so grateful for that, you know, because this is a great way of life. You know, it says we can find a new way to live, you know, and I needed that diversity to come in here for others to share their experience, strength, and hope, so that I could learn how to be a better Candace, and that I could get out of Candace's way, you know, and that I could have a better life. And today that's what I have. You know, my desire was to be, you know, I heard people talking about being happy, joyous, and free, and I didn't think that was possible, but I just kept coming back, you know, and today I am happy, joyous, and free. You know, today I learned how to live life on life terms. I learned how to go through those challenges by using some spiritual principles, right? You know, and I learned that through diversity, you know, and I'm so grateful that the steps were written in the order that they were, because it gave me a guideline. This is the guide to my life. You know, it saves my life on a daily basis and on a continuous basis. So I just keep coming back, and thank you all so much for sharing a clear and concise message. I love you, and thanks for participating in your recovery.
Thanks, Candace.
Thank you for
Thanks,
sharing.
Candace. We have Linda.
Hey, family, I'm Linda. I'm an addict.
Hey,
I'm
Hey,
real grateful
Linda.
to be here. I probably look like a ghost. I got my virtual background on. But anyway, thank you so much to the speakers, Craig, as well as Carl, for sharing your experience, strength, and hope on diversity is the key, right? Man, let me take that virtual background out, because it's bothering me. Look, my experience, right? I started getting high at a very young age, but I was born in the segregated South. I was born in the 50s, raised in the 60s and 70s in the segregated South, Carl, right? So, but when I started getting high, shit, I didn't care if you was blue. You know what I'm saying? It didn't matter. You know, I got some of my best dope from them white boys at school. Once we got past the integration and the riots and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying? So it didn't make no difference. But I've come to understand, and even, you know, I used for 24 years, right? And my years of using was just as diverse as my growing up, right? But what I've come to understand is that this world is as diverse as it can get. I'm talking about this world, this universe, this planet. You know what I'm saying? Because I've come to understand that we have one disease, but many addictions, right? So it takes all of us, because this is a universal program, right? And through my experience, I've come to understand that it's one program, but many ways to recover. You know, the program are the same. I mean, and I heard Craig or Carl, I don't know which one of them said it. Spiritual principles are never in conflict. This is a spiritual program, right? So it doesn't even matter where I came from, how I got here. we all ended up on the same path that led us to Narcotics Anonymous, right? So, you know, because some people work a step a month and then do all 12 steps in a year. Some people work the 12 steps and 12 traditions together and they do it every year. They do, you know, so it's different ways to recover, but it's only one program. Because see, this disease of addiction is an equal opportunity to destroy you. They don't give a damn where we come from. You know what I'm saying? Carl, I grew up too. My mother was brown skinned and my daddy was, we called him half-breeds back then. He was mixed. They wasn't calling it mixed. His daddy was white, right? So him and my mom, okay, now acknowledged in 1 minute. Him and my mom had 6 children together, and 3 of us were light-skinned and 3 of us were dark-skinned. So it wasn't no colorism in my family, right? But the bottom line is it didn't matter. They didn't never consider my dad to be white. He was always black, you know what I'm saying? Because of where we grew up in the South. But you know what? It don't even matter. You know, diversity is the key to this fellowship because we need people from all walks of life. I'm just grateful that they but one program and many paths to recovery. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Linda.
Thank you. And are we out of time? Okay.
We are.
Sorry about that. We are out of time and we would like to thank today's workshop speakers and everyone who attended and participated. The 7th tradition is in the chat, but I'll also tell you that you can donate via PayPal at registration@grcna.org, on Venmo at Georgia Regional CONV-40, and on the website at grcna.com/shop. And let's close this meeting with a moment of silence followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer.
God, grant us the
serenity
serenity
to
accept
to
the
accept the
things
things we cannot change,
courage to change
courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Keep
coming back.
For the day.
All right. Thank
That
y'all
was
for
a
a great
good meeting,
meeting.
y'all. Thank you.
Great
Great
meeting.
Craig, thank
Thank y'all. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl, and everybody.
Carl, Craig, y'all are amazing.
Thank all of
Craig,
y'all.
Kenneth, y'all did a wonderful job. Brandon,
Have a great
Gary, I
weekend.
love working
Y'all
with
come
y'all.
to my
Thank you.
workshop.
Thank y'all for y'all
Thank y'all.
I gotta
service.
get going. I'll see y'all in a little bit.
Excellent service.
George,
Yep. See y'all in a little
Thank you,
bit.
guys.
All right.
George, did you get? I just texted you something to make sure that I don't conflict with anything.
Can I ask you
Hey,
a question?
Brandon, I'm making you host because I got the roll.
What's up, Marvin?
All right, so what's the next thing we do? We go back to the original site to go to another meeting? Or
Yes.
is it another meeting in this room?
Yes, indeed.
Yes, Marvin.
All right, thanks.
Meow.
Meow.
All right, Cat. All right, Cat.
That's my home group member.
All right. See y'all next time.
Yep.
Alrighty.